Hello, everybody. We are privileged to have with us today Mr. Shomor Banerjee, who is the Group Head HR for Berger Pens India. So, I welcome Mr. Shomor Banerjee on behalf of NHRD Kolkata chapter. Thank you for coming here, sir. And it's a privilege for us to have you here. And let us, have a discussion with him. We want to know, he's a renowned personality. So we would like to know more about him today on his professional part as well as his personal part. So, sir, I would not say much about you to the audience. Would rather listen more from you through the questions, through the chat we are going to have. So without wasting much time, I would start right from the beginning, sir. Right from your graduation days. So, sir, you are an economics graduate.
Right.
So being in economics, there are a lot of options you actually have to advance further in your career. So how did HR happen? I mean, was it a conscious decision, or it was just it happened accidentally, like many stalwart do say? So would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Ondrila, for inviting me for this talk. Although I'm not a very active member on NHRDN, but I am really thankful to you for inviting me for this talk. And it really gives an opportunity to interact with big HR professionals around the city and all over the country. So let me take your first question first and try to I'll attempt and response. So my career choice of getting into HR actually began early on. Fortunately, it so happened that I grew up in a place which was a little about 140 kilometers away from Jamshedpur. Early on in our career, we had the opportunity of interacting with various professionals. So the profession of HR, although it was not known as HR at that point in time when I was growing up, it was mostly known as personnel officer or personnel manager or even a welfare officer. So I got impressed by some of them as a child. The reason for my getting impressed was I was also very active in sports. And then I used to see various sports events getting organized by the welfare officers, then the personnel managers. So I had this inclination to be a sportsman first, and then probably as I grew up, I thought that getting into personnel management and industrial relations is a good career choice. So economics only gave me the grounding to be more business-like in terms of my approach in human resources as a professional. Since it was mostly pre-decided kind of an career, so economics or it would have been any other subject was not really the deciding factor. But my choice was made early on in my career to be a HR professional.
Okay. So even before economics, you were inclined towards HR.
Yeah.
So economics.
I had a dream to pursue
So-
this career.
Okay.
And,
So probably economics just happened. HR was the aspiration.
Yes, I went for a combination which I was actually advised by some of my father's colleagues, that you must go for a combination like economics and sociology. That gives you a good insight about the society. Understanding economics gives you a good understanding about the economics of an industry. So that gives you an early stage advantage in terms of understanding businesses, understanding how the society is sort of configured, and how both of them actually interplay. So that helped me in my HR career.
Okay. That's really, like being focused right from the beginning, that what you want. Many a times we accidentally choose careers.
No, mine
so it's
was,
a very,
mine was not
you were
really
focused.
an accidental choice, and I must thank my parents, because my father always encouraged me to pick up a career which he felt that I should pursue what I would like, not that something will be foisted or imposed on us. In fact, to none of our siblings, my parents ever foisted a career choice.
Okay.
So I was inclined to be into the HR profession. At an early stage as a child, because I saw them participating in sports, organizing sports events, so that brought me closer to them.
Okay.
And then when I sort of started appreciating the role, it was quite a, I would say, a very actively considered decision that I have taken.
Okay. And it's a right decision you have taken.
As of today, I feel yes, it's the right, I have made a right decision.
Okay, great. So, sir, it's been like over 2 decades. Like, you have been in the profession, you have grown here, you have started, you have grown here. Now you are actually heading, the group for such a big organization. So, how was this journey of last 20 years? I mean, are you here, like the position you are right now in? So have you reached your pinnacle, or you have still more miles to go? What is, would like to know about your journey so far.
let me break your question into 3 parts. So the first part is about I have grown up in this profession, and majorly in the city of Kolkata, in and around the city of Kolkata. Although I do not belong to this city in that nature, as I am not born and brought up here, nor have I done my schooling in Calcutta, nor any of the studies I have done in Calcutta. However, the city has kind of grown on me. So professionally, I started my career, it's about 2.5 decades now. So not 20 years, so that's about 26 years is my total career length. I started my journey with a large automobile company right out of the campus. So I joined them as an assistant manager in the from the campus at their engine manufacturing facilities in Rajasthan. And I was with them for about 4 years, being an understudy both in the function of human resources and also in the field of employee relations. At that point in time, which I think I'm really very fortunate to have got that first break, and that too with an organization which was known for its excellent HR practices. So I got to work under great thought leaders in human resources, and they were all renowned. They were known for their thought leadership in human resources. So early on in my career, I had that opportunity to work closely with them. About 4 years into my first job, I was sort of encouraged to get into employee relations. So that was again sort of guided by one of my seniors, who happened to be my boss. So he said, you will actually not make a complete HR professional unless you have a good exposure and experience in employee relations. And what can be a better place than to come to West Bengal and try or dirty your hands in employee relations. Fortunately, it so happened I got an opportunity to work with one of the largest multinationals at that point in time, and who are into the middle of restructuring their business. So while they were into restructuring the business, for the HR professional, it actually meant about downsizing or right sizing the operations so that to make it profitable. So that was a very intense and a very hands-on experience in employee relations in a very complicated environment. Since I was not much used to a very complicated IR environment in my earlier assignment, so that gave me a very sound learning platform. Yes, there were challenges, there were in fact threats, there were, I would say, a lot of complexity around that role, but yes, we emerged successful, and that also gave me a lot of insight into how to be a better HR professional. So for this role, I carried on for some more time as a employee relations professional. So about 10 years of my first part of my career, I was into employee relations. As the world order started changing, so then they felt that the role of an employee relations manager over the next few years will actually not be that substantive, and you really need to get into the so-called soft HR part of it, or the human resources part of it, which although is theoretically it sounds good that employee relations is one distinct part and human resources management or development is another distinct part. But I have experienced that unless you are going through the entire grind of being into employee relations, early stage opportunities to work very closely on the ground with people, you really do not make a complete HR professional. So that way that journey of 26 years have been, I would not say I'm really very successful, but I can say that it has been a happy, satisfactory journey.
As far as you are satisfied, I think that's what matters.
Yeah, unless you are really satisfied with your past, so you really cannot look into the future. So the past will keep on haunting you that I probably made wrong career choices. Yes, it continued in a pace that I would not say has been really very fast paced, and it has its mix of both ups and downs. However, the trajectory of my growth in terms of the opportunities, in terms of the kind of roles that I have handled, in terms of the sizes of business that I have handled, it has been, I would say, a fairly satisfactory journey for me.
Okay.
And the final part, what you wanted me to know whether I have reached the pinnacle, I don't think that any one of the HR professionals, or for that matter any professional, can say that I have reached the pinnacle, because that is something which keeps on, it stops you, and these are few things which are evolving. So today I might be really not having that kind of expertise around the latest of HR practices, so I need to learn them. I need to equip myself with those kind of skills, capabilities, competencies. So it is a constant and a continuous learning process. So I would not even think that I have reached pinnacle. I'm still at the base camp.
Yes, so you've got a long way to
go. A long way to go.
Great to hear about your journey. So taking a cue from it, as you were saying that you've come to West Bengal and you were into employee relations, so I guess, like, I've also read about your bios where you had mentioned that for the early part of your career you used to handle IR and ER. So I mean, probably you mean when you're handling this employee relation, IR and ER was also a part of it.
Yeah. The early part of my career, barring about 2 years in my first job, I was absolutely into the on-the-ground industrial relations or employee relations, as the name later on changed. So it was basically on the ground in the manufacturing setup, employee relationships, managing blue-collared employees, managing outsourced employees, managing secondary employees. So that is how has been my journey.
So how was it to handle IR and ER at such an early stage of your career? Because once you are, it is said that once you are an IR person, then you are like, you have reached one aspect of your career. So how was it? Any memorable incident where because we hear IR issues, there are a lot of IR issues in organizations. So any memorable incident or memorable moment you would like to share where you had to handle a situation, a critical situation?
I think let me put it this way. I am really fortunate that I got early stage immersion into hardcore IR. So I was about 28 years old, not really knowing the nuances of complex employee relationships that existed in this part of the country. Although I used to be told by my seniors that getting an exposure there, managing a real life challenging situation on the ground is going to be one of your biggest learnings, and it is also going to sort of redefine your career for the future. So unless you have equipped yourself with those kind of capabilities of managing crisis, managing challenging situations, so you are really not a fully equipped or a fully developed HR professional. So with that background, I sort of immersed myself totally into the employee relations domain or the space. There been series of incidents which I had faced, and when I look back, I really feel myself fortunate that those happened, and I emerged sort of what shall I say, that it was, you were grilled and roasted in a manner that you emerged stronger and strong-willed, and now you are confident of handling difficult IR situations. One part of IR or employee relations typically is about managing crisis. So the role of IR manager or the employee relations manager is again about a very resilient in terms of managing crises, handling crises without really impacting business operations, or you don't really allow it to flare up in a manner that it gives a negative image or impression about the place or the organization that you are working. So one very early experience I've heard about it, that there is a culture of Gherav in West Bengal, which is kind of an illegal and a forceful confinement for some time. So I was probably about 10 days into my second job, and it was a Saturday, and I was told that some of the employee representatives will come and give you a deputation. Honestly, I was not knowing what a deputation meant at that point in time, so I thought maybe some of them will come and talk to me and give me a piece of paper to read or whatever. I asked my senior. He said I was actually reporting on to the factory site and services manager, who was not a IR person but a guru and a guide for me in terms of teaching me the finer nuances of employee relations. So I was very excited to get a deputation from the people. I was only 10 days and it was a weekend. It was a Saturday. So typically in that place, Saturdays used to be half day for managers. And I was probably the lone member of the employee relations team who was in the office about 8:30 in the morning. I was expecting that some 10 or 12 people will come and give me a deputation. So I still remember the room was half the size of this, so about a 30-35, maybe a 40 square feet room. And then 12 people came in and they said, we wanted to give you a deputation. I said, good, I'll take it, and I feel so happy that you have come and you are meeting me. Without actually realizing that the intent behind submitting that deputation to me was to actually gherav me.
Okay.
So I asked them that the 2 chairs, and then probably all of you cannot sit, so I'll also stand. Then they said, no, you don't have to stand, we will sit. So I said, okay, please sit, and 2 of them sat down, and then they started calling people from outside. So in a minute or so it swelled up to about 50 odd people. And I said, yes, I have taken your deputation, and do you want me to respond right away? I cannot. Because I need to go through it, understand what it is, and talk to my seniors, and then probably in a week's time we'll be able to respond. So all of a sudden they said, you are under gherav, and till the time you actually respond to us in writing, you will not be allowed to move out of this room. Those days we did not have mobile phones, so we had pagers. So the pager was also taken from me. They sort of snapped the external or the BSNL telephone line, and there's only the intercom which was operational. For the first 10-15 minutes, I was really afraid. I would say that 10 minutes looked to me like eternity. I was sort of trying to figure out if I can escape through the window, or maybe beg for mercy from them. And but about 15 minutes or so, one of my security supervisors realized that something wrong is going on. So he wanted to get in and sort of trying to figure out as to what is going on inside, if he can help me. But unfortunately, these people, they did not allow him, and sort of physically shoved him out of that room. So that made me even more afraid that if they are doing this to an old man, and I don't think they will have any qualms to hit me. But the first 15 minutes were unnerving. I was really afraid. I was trying to escape it in any manner. I was even thinking to break open the glass window and jump out of it. It was on the ground floor, so nothing much would have happened that way. But I realized that no, this is probably time to test my capabilities. So this thought came to me in the next few minutes, that what is the maximum damage that they can do? They'll probably hit me, they might not kill me, because in an industrial setup, hitting a person and killing him, although
we do hear
we have heard about it, but probably it is a level of confrontation when the antagonism runs very high and there is a lot of opposition from both the sides. Since I was not actually really opposing them, so I felt that maybe in the next 15-20 minutes they will also understand my position and then be more softer in the approach. Unfortunately, it did not happen. They continued threatening, they continued saying that we will burn the entire colony, we'll burn the entire factory. Instead of your black fumes, you will see red fumes coming out of this place. So that kind of scared me for the next about an hour or so. During this time, what happened, the team members also started coming in, and the news has spread to most of the factory that there is a gherao, and the new HR/ER manager, Samar Banerjee, was just joined, has been gherawed. News out went to the law and order machinery. They were informed, and I was kept under gherao for about 10 hours. So it started from 9 o'clock. And then I was released at about 6 o'clock. So during that time,
did they offer you food?
no, I was not even offered food, not even allowed to go to the washroom. One thing they offered me was that if you smoke, you can have a bidi with us. So that was the only offer that they made. But the first part of it was very violent. It was very scary for me, and I was really at a loss of words. Even my brain seemed to be not really working properly. I was that scared. But the next about an hour or so, I sort of negotiated internally in my mind and in my heart, and then I thought that okay, let me take it as an experiment or an experience as to what can be the worst outcome of this. So eventually the violence softened, the approach towards me also sort of sobered down, and they I would not say become friendly, but they become open to discuss. So they become open to discuss, then they started narrating stories of what has happened in the past. So many of the historical evolution of employee relations at that plant, which takes time to actually know and learn and then appreciate, happened to be within that day. So it also turned out to be an induction. So I got to know a lot about the complex situations, about the challenges at that location, and maybe what is in store for me. So that was a good induction.
Wow, that was really, I was just waiting with bated breath that what will happen next. So that was good, and that was a really good exposure you've had.
That was a learning of a lifetime.
Yeah. Sir, so like apart from employee relation, I know that employee engagement is also your favorite area, and you have innovated, a lot of things. So would you, enlighten us, for those, HR professionals for whom, like I'm one of them, that employee engagement is a favorite area. So if you can enlighten that, what innovation we can do, or what you have done, so that we get some enlightenment on it.
So Indrina, honestly, my experience around employee engagement has given me few thoughts. So to me, employee engagement is not about arranging fun games or events around the workplace. Yes, that is one small part of the employee engagement. The employee engagement is about how well we sort of connect with them at an intellectual level, connect with them at emotional level, and also make workplaces so good and so robust and so well equipped that at a physical level also people are really engaged, so they can go beyond their normal call of duty to deliver more. So unless I really get an intellectually stimulating environment, unless I get a set of colleagues, a set of peers, or set of my co-workers who are emotionally connected to us, emotionally connected not in the sense that someone will feel sad for something happening to me, but when we work together, the other person should also appreciate. Similarly, we also need to appreciate. So it has to bring in kind of a developmental attitude towards the entire population or entire workforce. So you'll have to intellectually stimulate them. I really do not go to the workplace to do the same thing over and over again. Yes, some parts, some jobs, some roles will definitely have that component of doing things repetitive, because that's part of the industrial requirement. But how much we can really bring in terms of novelty into the job, how much of innovation can be built into the job, do I really challenge that individual's intellectual capability even today. So we shall not assume that these are set of workmen who are good at doing repetitive jobs, but you must also look at how can we give them a job or a role or a task which challenges their capability. So once he finds that yes, I can probably do a higher order skill, or I can do a job better than what I was doing for the last so many years, so he feels connected with the job. So he looks at it as a development for himself. So how do we configure jobs, how do we configure roles, how do we configure maybe the organization structure and even the culture of the place, that this stimulation, this connection and the development is deeply embedded into your HR processes. So what we normally tend to do is we'll organize some Diwali event, we'll organize some puja event. That one of instances of creating fun at the workplace is a stimulant, but it is not a long-term stimulant for engagement. So to all my HR professionals like who would like to sort of get into this employee engagement should go deeper into the concept of engagement and probably look at what we are today saying is employee experience. How do we enhance the experience of the employee at the workplace? Does he feel that coming to the workplace is monotony? Does he feel that this is a drudgery I would better avoid? So unless we are thinking through and looking at all the components of a human being and his connection with the workplace and the work, so it is not really going to help. To my mind, to the young professionals who would like to get into deeper engagement must understand this. How do we stimulate, intellectually stimulate people? How do we enhance their cognitive ability? How do we improve on the emotional connect with the workplace and the organization? So which will actually make me go beyond my normal call of duty and commit myself to better results. So one small example is, let's say you called me today for this interview, and there would have been few choices. I would have said no, I'll probably try to come in my own sweet time, or I will probably not be able to make it. But if I am connected, if I felt that this interaction is going to be really meaningful and helpful to me as well personally, there is going to be a lot of learning that I'll take back from this place. So I was excited to come to this place. So unless I am intellectually and emotionally stimulated and connected, so I might not have come. So you will have to think as an HR professional, how can I do that at the workplace? So that really helps.
Yeah, so that's quite a learning the young professionals can take this from you, that engagement does not only mean fun at work.
Yeah.
It goes much beyond that.
It goes much beyond and deeper than the fun at the workplace. Fun is really one part of the employee engagement, because you feel excited to participate when you are engaged. So if you are not really excited to participate in the fun event, which means you are really not engaged. Yeah.
Okay, so one question I have in my mind, because nowadays, when we were growing as in our career, like it was like the HRs or the management, whenever used to see a CV, they used to see that how long the employee has been into the last organization, and whether the employee is a job hopper and all. But nowadays, many of times we find that spending a long tenure in an organization is not considered as a positive thing especially in HR. So do you really think that is the case? I mean, if somebody gives a considerable amount of years to an organization, is it considered that this person is gathering the moss and has got a comfort zone and is not ready to move out? Is it considered, do you think as
honestly, Indrila, this is a question that every time plays at the back of my mind, because I myself have changed many organizations. So I moved from automobile to FMCG to petrochemicals to the media, and although I spent a large part of my career in a very huge basic industry like cement, now I have moved on to again a similar large corporation who are again into building material section. So whether the question of whether you need to be changing jobs frequently to be more visible, or you need to stick to a job, the response has always been very difficult on my part. But if I look back and place myself in that context, so even if I spend a small part and I have changed multiple jobs, so whether that has helped me as an individual professionally to grow. Second is whether I have really contributed to the growth of the organization where I was working. So if your association has been meaningful, even if it is for a smaller period of time, I think it really does not impact, should not be seen as a job hopping. I think it should be also perceived as my ability to take on newer challenges again and again. So, and I was actually reading a small article on the number of job an individual will change in the although it is set in the American context, but they are saying that in the lifetime of an employee or a management graduate, that they are saying that he is expected to change about 27 jobs. So if your career spanning 35 years, 36 years and you change 27 jobs, it's quite. So job hopping is really going to be the order of the day, but for the individuals who are looking at job hopping for the sake of salary increases, for the sake of carrying bigger designations, and really not committed in terms of the contribution that I made into the job or the learning that I picked up from the job. So that becomes very apparent when you interact with an individual. So maybe multiple jobs doing the multiple organizations doing the same job, really not picking up any value from any of the experiences. So
not even growing.
Not even growing. Yes, this is one more challenge that we face in the Indian context. For us, growth always means that you should carry a superior designation. But I don't see growth in that perspective. The growth is about whether you have joined a bigger organization, you have handled a bigger role, you have handled more complex roles, and you have really contributed meaningfully to that role is
Absolutely.
What should be your growth idea. So people feel that, oh, I was an officer, I should take next change like
Senior
executive
officer
or
or
a
something.
senior officer. As a manager, I must look for a job of a senior manager, and so on and so forth. Yes, that was again during the first about 7-8 years in your career, that drives individuals to make changes. But if that is the sole driver for your making changes, that my designations will grow,
It's a concern.
and with my designations my compensation will also grow. So that is a concern.
Absolutely. So, sir, we would take a break from these professional questions because our viewers would also like to hear more about your personal life. So, just to begin with, so what do you do when you're not working?
Honestly, I really do not have a hobby or a pursuit as such. It has kept on changing over a period of time, depending on what stage of life you are. You keep on changing that. You start sort of reorganizing your priorities in a manner. So, if I look back for the last about few years, so it has been growing up the kids and then supporting the family. So that beyond my office time or my normal work time, that is where we spend most of the time, because we felt that we need to spend time with the kids as they grow. Otherwise, as a regular area of interest that I still carry is about reading books. So as and when I get some opportunity, I read books.
So,
I am
fiction,
also-
non-fiction?
I always prefer non-fiction. The book I'm recently reading is The Difficulty of Being Good. So it is an interpretation of Mahabharata.
Okay.
It's a very insightful book. So whenever I get any opportunity, I read maybe 10-12 pages, maybe a little more. So that is one part, that is one pursuit which I have continued irrespective of the position I am in. And I am also little active in the social service sector.
Okay, that's
So I'm part of some associations. I also actively guide and sort of share my experience with some of those NGOs and some of the associations which are particularly developed in and around Kolkata. So that is again a hobby, not an hobby I would say, but that is an area of interest. But eventually I would like to get deeper into that kind of a role.
That's really noble of you to do it. Sir, would take you through a rapid fire round for our viewers to understand more about you. Rapid fire rounds actually tells us a lot of things about a person without actually asking. So, yeah. So, let's start. Okay. Favorite cuisine?
Favorite cuisine is mangso bhat.
Oh, lovely, lovely. You're a true bong. Tea or coffee?
Tea any day.
First thing you do when you get up in the morning?
I open my eyes, Otherwise, I get down from the bed, and then we have a golden retriever at home, so that comes rushing to us. So pat him, pat her.
So it's cuddle time for your pet. Okay. One thing you would like to change about yourself if you are given an opportunity?
Not only one thing, so many things I need to change. Maybe
One must.
One must I need to change is probably I must interact more with the fraternity.
Okay.
I really do not know. I have not been that outgoing, or I have not been that extrovert in terms of interacting widely with my fraternity. I have sort of kept myself away from the networks and so on and so forth. So this I'm planning to change it in a very, very calibrated and a very planned manner.
Oh, lovely. That's so lovely. So we'll get to hear and see more of you, henceforth.
With your support, I think I should also be a little more visible in the HR.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Favorite superhero?
Superhero?
You believe in superhero? I mean, we all do at one point of our time.
As a child, yes, it was always Phantom.
Phantom.
And we used to wait for the newspaper to come and read those small strips of Aurangzeb.
Right.
And we used to stay in a place where we used to get an older newspaper. So it was maybe one day old newspaper. But still we used to wait for it and cut those strips of comic strips and put them all together. Then was Chacha Chaudhary was again very interesting character.
I think today's kids miss Phantom and Chacha Chaudhary.
Yeah, but they have their
own set of superheroes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Cricket or football?
Cricket.
Ilish or Chingri?
Both for me, because I'm a mix of both. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite travel destination?
The Northeast has been a favorite travel destination for me.
Okay. Anywhere outside India?
Yeah, I've traveled outside India, but if I really look at it, I think the northeastern part of India also offers amazing beauties. So it's still unexplored. It gives you so much of serenity that you sort of immerse yourself there.
Absolutely.
So to me, always the northeastern part of India will always be exciting.
Your favorite?
Yeah.
Favorite movie and movie character?
Till some time, my favorite movie was Amir Khan's movie, Three Idiots. Before that again was Amir Khan's Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
Okay, so you're an Amir Khan fan?
Yeah, sort of. But of late I have started enjoying this movie series Fukre.
Oh, okay.
So the Fukre movies, the Fukre 1 and Fukre 2 has been, they are sort of my favorite.
Okay.
So when I'm watching movies to relax, I think I play that movie on and on.
Okay. So the characters are also favorite in that case?
The characters are also fine, the storyline is good. And it's so representative of the current age and the changes in the society. So they are very representative and they are also very insightful. Apart from bringing in the element of comedy, so they are really very insightful and is reflecting the changes happening in and around our society. So that way I really like them.
Sir, suppose Bhuter Raja comes in front of you right now and offers you 3 boons. What would you ask from him?
Bhuter Raja, a good health for all, let the pandemic get over fast, and how quickly we can get back to a normal life. So that would be my 3 wishes.
3? Nothing for yourself?
A good, like if everyone is healthy, so I'm included. When pandemic gets over and things should become normal, I am also a part of that. And I am not really looking at anything really particular as a wish, but if it is for all, then it will apply to me as well. So I'll
really
definitely be a part of that.
That's really humble, and I really wish Bhuter Raja comes and you get these 3 wishes of yours. Work from home or work from office?
Work from office any day.
So have you been working from office like all this?
We had a mix of working from home and working from office. Again, this is something which I find that the HR professionals should also start appreciating and realizing that there is one set of industry where work from home can be an in thing, but a large part of our employees are really not into that sector.
Especially
that is
the
first.
manufacturing sector.
Yeah, the manufacturing, the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector gives you the maximum employment in the country. So can they afford to work from home? If today I say a food delivery guy, he says that I'll work from home, so will I be really excited? I'll not be really excited. So I would prefer that hybridization or the hybrid work arrangements or the equations that are emerging. So there are two set of hybridization that is happening. One is within the intra-industry, so your IT, your back offices, your services industry, so they can still afford to work from home. But industry like ours, and where I have spent majority of my career in manufacturing setup, so we really cannot afford to work from home. Today I cannot ask my employees who is going to the plant to manufacture the product that you work from home, and nor can I tell my sales person that you take orders sitting at home. Yes, for some time it can be a mix of hybridization at the workplace, where to reduce the number of people getting into the workplace, you can sort of segregate some roles, but entirely saying that working from home is going to be the new normal sounds impractical to me.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Okay. Lastly, last question of this rapid fire round. Describe yourself in 3 words.
I'm emotional. But I like to take on challenges, and one very strong thing about me is I allow a lot of space to people, but if people infringe, then I'm very harsh.
Okay, so all your subordinates or your future subordinates will know now, what to expect and how far to go actually.
They most of them know. Like I'm very open. I get along well with people, but I expect results also. So I'll give you space, but I also need results. It is not always that results. No fun, but it is a mix, so one has to understand and prioritize. So that is about me.
I think viewers are really excited to know this aspect, this side of yours, apart from the professional
Yeah, some
side.
people used to call me that you are a very tough HR manager. So I said, yes, sometimes you need to be tough as well. So HR is not always being soft.
Yes.
So HR should be also capable of
yes.
taking tough calls.
Decisions,
Yeah.
So, sir, it is always said to us that, once we are in HR, we are always wearing this HR hat, even in our personal space. Do you really think so? Do you do that? I mean, like
No,
even at
times,
home,
yes,
like
yes,
people would say that you're behaving like an HR at office.
My family feels that way, and fortunately, because my wife is also from the same profession, although she is not a practicing HR professional anymore, so my kids and my wife says that you also tend to behave like a HR professional at home, where you sermonize and you yourself don't practice. So
you confirm
I sort of try to avoid it to the extent possible. I try to draw a line, but all the time it is not possible, and then people also see your actions as if you were doing the HR's job. But if you look at any other profession, so some part of it will get embedded in your psyche, into your system. So the way you respond to or react to situations, the way you manage or way you look at things, which is about the perspective that you are building, will to a very large extent be influenced by the role that you are continually doing over a longer period of time. So if today is a doctor or an engineer, he tends to behave differently. So at different places, it might not always be possible. So to distinguish these approaches in life and the way of looking at things or the perspectives about certain things in life, they over a period of time gets embedded into your system. So you sort of get those scripts are sort of written in your head.
Yes.
So you really cannot avoid them, but deliberately you should not deploy them. But to the extent possible, you must also behave little differently.
Sir, one last question for you. Would want your tips or advice on for the young HR professionals who aspire to reach your level or become the CHR of an organization. So what advice would you give to them?
First is I have not reached pinnacle. I don't see that I have reached a position where I can sermonize people to maybe follow, nor am I in really, nor have I looked at my achievements in a sense that I can go ahead to the world and say that this is what I have done and you must also do to reach here. So, however, as a very friendly suggestion that I would make to the budding HR professionals or even the aspiring HR professionals is one must be extremely committed. One must be extremely committed to the work or to the task or to the role that is being assigned. Second is do not limit yourself to just this piece of work. So one must develop an ability to look beyond that. So what I have seen in budding HR professionals is they limit themselves to one smaller aspect of the task or the job that is assigned to them. So if you limit yourself, you are actually restricting your ability to think, your ability to resolve, your ability to offer multiple solutions. So one must go beyond whatever is given in the job description. Look for opportunities to learn. Not necessarily that something will be told to you, then only you learn. So if there is a project, if there is a new assignment, if there is a mobility opportunity, so grab that. So that would be a good learning for oneself. And the second most important part is also about communicating. Your ability to communicate with your fraternity, with the larger group, with the larger organization. So that helps. That gives you a lot of confidence. That makes you visible, and then you can bring in that kind of an influence over the system. So you should be committed. You should be able to communicate properly, and you should catch whatever opportunity comes your way. So those things are suggestions which I think have helped me in my career. And finally, stay connected. So one must always stay connected because you never know where an opportunity will come from. So one has to be staying connected all the time.
That was really a wise piece of advice for the young HR professionals listening to this. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here and joining in this tete-a-tete, and thank you for your time. We really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ondrila, for giving me this platform to maybe reach out to a larger audience.
For us too,
Thank
sir.
you so much. Thank you.
So that was our conversation with Mr. Shamor Banerjee, Group Head HR for Berger Paints India. Hope it has given you a lot of insight on the HR aspect he has been handling, and you've got a lot of advices and tips from him. If you like the talk show, please share the video amongst your known circle. Thank you so much for being with us in this.